Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Nowadays I'm exploring the Airbus A310, which is the default plane for the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and in this regard I'm making a series of videos for this plane in which I'm trying to break down all the aspects of a flight into different videos so that it's easy for you to look for specific information on my channel, and I will also upload a complete tutorial video for this plane. This is going to be another video in which I will just tell you how to manage the descent of this plane towards the arrival airport and how to perform an ILS approach and landing. I was actually trying to keep a sequence of the previous two videos that I've uploaded, in which I've told you how to start the plane from the cold and dark state and then how to fly the plane on autopilot. That flight plan was from Riyadh to Abu Dhabi. Unfortunately, I don't know, maybe it's an issue with the Microsoft Flight Simulator or with the airport updates that I have. Because I've purchased these airports, the Abu Dhabi airport and another airport which is for Qatar. I've purchased them from the marketplace, and unfortunately when I try to perform an ILS approach and landing at the Abu Dhabi International Airport, the plane doesn't pick up the ILS information. So I've actually recorded this video. I landed the plane without the ILS. I thought of uploading it, then I just thought of doing another video. Now I'm doing a short flight from Lahore to Islamabad, which is in Pakistan, and Islamabad is the capital city. I'm actually from Islamabad, and I will just show you how to manage the descent with this plane and how to perform an ILS approach and landing. Right now you can see that I'm climbing to 25,000 feet, passing through 16,600 feet, and soon I will also start the descent, because the top of descent is near. It's a very short flight. You can see it's a very short distance between the top of climb and top of descent. So first of all, let's find out the altitude to which I will be descending. For this, I will be referring to the airport charts with Navigraph, and if I look at the approach plate, you will see that at this point Phoenix, my altitude should be 3,700. So I will just descend to 3,700 feet, and at this point 6 nautical miles from the runway, the final approach fix. This point is the final approach fix from where you start to follow the vertical path and then you land at the runway. Another thing that you have to look at is the altitude of the runway, 1,747 feet. So this is the information that we need, and I will be performing a category 2 approach, although this plane can also do a category 3. And with the category 2 approach, you can see the minimums is coming 1,847 feet decision altitude and 100 feet above the ground. So this is what we have to enter: a decision height and decision altitude, and then the altitude to which we will be descending. So first of all, let's go over here on this page. If you click take off and approach, you have to enter 1847 over here. So let's enter 1847, 100 feet above the runway. So this is going to be your altitude based on the barometric pressure and based on the radio. You have a decision height which is 100 feet above the ground. So this is what you have to enter. And then you also have a landing elevation setting over here. So this is 1,747. So 400 feet, 500 feet, 800, and this is 1,000, and this is, let's say, I'll keep it at 1,800 because it's in hundreds. Now I'm keeping the flight plan page in front of me so that I can see the different speed and altitude constraints. As you can see, this is over here. So at this point, the plane should be above 6,000 feet. This is actually a point known as ISDO, and as you can see it on your screens, ISDO, the flight level 6,000 plus, it's coming. So, and the speed is also coming, 256 knots. So what I can do is this. This is now we are actually going to this point SLT. We have crossed actually in SLT, and then Indec and Punop and ISDO. So what I can do is this, that instead of descending to 3,700 feet, I will just press it again and I will descend to 6,000 feet. Because honestly speaking, for this plane, the profile mode is active. What the profile mode does is this, that during the descent, it follows all the speed and the altitude constraints. Unfortunately for this plane, what I've experienced is this, that it doesn't follow the speed and the altitude constraints. So that's why I will also go for an open descent. So instead of using the profile descent, I'll go with an open descent. So during the descent, I will just take you through all the procedures, and we will see how the descent goes. So now you can see the top of descent is almost there. I can just reduce it, and I can just have an idea that it's almost 20 nautical miles away. I can start the descent, and I will just see that on the navigation display that the plane will be at 6,000 feet before this point ISRO, and then from there I will further descend to 3,700 feet. But if it's not reaching the target altitude in the given time, then I will just try to go for an open descent. So now, as the top of descent is coming near, I will bring my cursor over here on this knob for the altitude to set it. Once it shows down, you just simply press it and wait. Within some time, you will see vertical deviation appearing over here in magenta color, which is actually an indication for your descent profile, either you are following it or not. And as soon as the plane is near this point, the descent will start. So actually, I'm also trying to go for an open descent so that I can show you how these different options work, the vertical speed and the level change during the descent. And one more thing that we have to enter is the ILS information over here, the frequency of the localizer, and plus the heading of the runway. So once the descent starts, then I will go back to the charts and I will show you over there. Let's wait now. If the descent doesn't start, then I will press this button again to start the descent, although I have pressed it already. And the descent should start. Five nautical miles away. And you can see now the vertical deviation is coming, and now the descent will start. You can now see the vertical speed is going in negatives. It means the descent has started. So if I just zoom out, I should see a blue arrow indicating that at which point I will be at the given altitude. As you can see, this blue arrow is moving, so it is showing that by this point I will be at the given altitude of 6,000 feet. That's it. So now, as the plane is now descending at the given speed, so what I'll do is this: I'll just go to the approach plates and look at the information for the ILS and the heading. So now this is the approach plate, and you can see this runway is there. And the ILS DME, which is the instrument landing system DME, the localizer frequency is 108.1, and the name of this is IBBA, heading is 278. Now, localizer is actually a radio transmitter which is placed at the end of the runway, which actually not only tells the horizontal alignment of the plane with the runway, but also it is a glide slope indicator which actually determines the vertical path. So once the plane reaches over here at this point IBBA, this 6 nautical miles away from the runway, as you can see DME 6 is coming. The distance is also coming 3.9 and 2, so it's roughly 6 over here. As you can see, this distance is coming. This is the final approach fix, and from here the plane will actually go for the landing. So you can see that 108.1 is coming and 278. So the plane will actually start picking up the frequency of this localizer for the descent. So let's enter it over here, 108.1. So 108 is already coming. You can move the bigger dial for for these numbers over here, and this one for this, and 278. So I can just go the other way, 278. So as soon as I enter it over here, the plane should start picking up the frequency of the localizer as soon as I'm near the runway, and also set the heading to 278 in case I have to fly in the heading mode after the initial approach fix. Then it comes in handy, although I'm using this nav option for the navigation. Now let's zoom in a bit and see that how the plane is descending. So by this point the plane should be at 6,000 feet, so I don't really have to worry about it. Another thing, if you look at this start page, which is actually for the arrival, you will see that transition altitude is 140. Over here I will be changing the barometric pressure of the plane from standard to the given one at 14,000 feet. So if I look at the weather information, you will see that at Lahore it's 1008. So I will set the barometric pressure to 1008 below 14,000 feet. I can also turn on the seatbelt sign that the descent has started, and I can arm the speed brakes as well, because after the landing the plane will actually use three different factors to stop. One is the reverse thrust. Reverse thrust levers are over here. They are configured on my controller. As soon as I land, I will just move the thrust control on my controller all the way back, and it is actually, I have the reverse thrust on my controller. If you go to the settings, you will see over here that it's coming reverse on throttle axis. I've turned it yes. If I turn it no, then you have to assign another button for it. But for this plane, I'm using my controller. So if I move this thrust on my controller all the way back, the reverse thrust is activated. And then the speed brakes are actually the flaps on the wings, which help the plane to stop. And they're also used for the speed brakes if you want to reduce the speed of the plane during the flight in the air. Then these speed brakes also come in handy. But right now they're not activated. But as soon as the reverse thrust is activated, you will have speed brakes. And then there are brakes in the wheels. They also come into action. You can set the speeds to medium or low. Right now you can see I cannot activate it. But if you move the gear lever in the middle position, then you will be able to activate it. Now, this is it. I have tried to set medium and max as well, but still the brakes get heated up during the landing. As Istanbul International Airport's runway is slightly long runway, so that's why I will not really worry about it. That's it. 14,000 feet. So let's go over here on the altimeter, adjust the altimeter, press this button when the arrow is up, then press this knob and just move the mouse wheel and set it to 1008. Now this is also set. Let's go to approach plate and let's see if we have any speed constraints on the approach or not. So over here you will see that at ISRO the speed should not be more than 220 knots, maximum 220 knots. This is one thing. And if I look at the approach plate, there are no speeds coming. It Phoenix 210 and ISRO 220. So I can also see that if the speed is not getting reduced, then I will reduce the speed. So right now what's happening is this: as the plane is giving priority to the descent, it wants to descend to the altitude to a specific point. So that's why the speed is not getting reduced. What I can do is this: I can press this button, activate. I can start the vertical speed or the descent myself. So instead of the profile mode, now the plane is in the open mode. I can press level change and then the plane will start to actually descend. With this, I can set the speed to 220. Now, as I'm reducing the speed, so the vertical speed is getting reduced because I'm using flight level change. I'm not using the vertical speed. In this case, the priority is given to the speed. The speed will slow down, or the speed will reduce, and then the plane will actually start to descend. But in this case, I might not be at 6,000 feet at this altitude, but I really don't have to worry about it because I should be 6,000 feet and above. But if I'm at 6,000 feet, it's good because then immediately after ISRO, I have to be at 3,700 at Phoenix. So what I can do is this: I can deactivate the speed brakes and then arm them. Disarm the speed brakes and activate them. As now you can see the speed brakes are in action. These flaps are up. So now the speed is getting reduced at a high rate. With this, I can click this button for the vertical speed, and then start the descent. So now you can see the speed is getting reduced, and the vertical speed should also reduce. Let's disengage the brakes, and let's press this button once more in order to start the descent. Or maybe I can also press the level change to start the descent again. Now you can see this arc is coming. The vertical speed should be working. As I'm below 10,000 feet, I can turn on all the lights, the logo light, the wing light, and plus the landing lights and the nose lights. All the lights should be on during the landing, so that the plane can not only see the runway. Obviously in the morning it's not an issue, but the planes at the runway or in the air from the distance, they can easily see the plane. So now you can see that as this option was not working, the vertical speed, so I pressed the flight level change. But right now, you can see at this point, I should be at 5,000 feet, and then over here, 3,700 feet. So right now, you can see that by this point, I will be at 6,000 feet. So I can further reduce the altitude to 5,000, and then I can see that whether I will be at 5,000 feet over here or not. Let's again activate the vertical speed and see if it works. Yes, now it's working. So at this point, I was above 6,000 feet, 8,400. I can further increase the descent rate. And you can see this arc moving. It's actually a good indicator, which tells me that by which point I will be at the given altitude. So roundabout here, just right after BTR 15, I will be at 5,000. Because at this point, I should be above 5,000, so that's why I'm not really worried about it. Now the speed, you can see it is increasing at a high rate because, my descent rate is really high. So right now, in this mode, with the vertical speed mode, the priority is given to the speed. So in order to control the speed, I can again activate the speed brakes. And now you can see the speed will also reduce, and the plane will actually keep on maintaining its descent profile. Speed is not reducing even after with the speed brakes. It's actually very high vertical speed. I can reduce it a bit. Now I'm at 5,000 feet, so I don't really worry about it. Now you can see the speed is not reducing because the plane is leveling off at 5,000. I can further reduce the altitude to 3,700. If I change the units to 100, I can also change it. Now I can again press this button, flight level change, and the plane will descend to 3,700. But I can then control the speed. Now if you go over here, you will see that at 245 knots, I can extend the slats by 15. So, and at 210, I can have 15 slats and 15 flaps, as you can see. So what I'll do is this, I can just, you can hear this overspeed error because the speed was a bit high, but it's now reducing because I've got the slats and the flaps, so I can get rid of this error, and now the speed will reduce. Now what I can do is this, I actually had set the speed to 210, that's why it was the error came. But now if I reduce it to 200, you can see now the speed is in control. Now if I press this button ILS, I will be seeing the ILS information over here. As now I'm aligned with the runway almost, so horizontal alignment is there, I can press this button land. So once I press this button land, the plane will actually again align itself further with the runway in order to get properly aligned with the runway, because now it's picking up the localizer information. And now I can further reduce the speed to 180. As now the plane has leveled off at 3,700 feet. I can further reduce the speed, and I can extend the slats by 20 and flaps by 20. I cannot go full right now because the gears are not down. So if the gears are down, then I can go with the full flaps. So at 6 DME, I will lower the gears as well. And maybe I can further reduce the speed to 160 knots. My approach speed is 134. If I go over here with 30 slats and 40 flaps, as you can see full, my speed is 137 or 136. It's changing because with the fuel burn, this is also changing because landing weight is 111 tons. So now this diameter is coming in the middle. Soon the plane will actually start to descend, and now you can see the DME distance is coming 7.5. This diameter is in the middle. Now the plane has actually started to follow the vertical path with this option land, and now you can see the descent has started. So the autopilot will actually try to keep this diamond in the middle. With this, I can set the speed to 136 knots for the landing. And now as I'm going to cross the 6 DME mark, I can lower the gears. And as soon as I've got the gears, I will extend the flaps to full. With this, what I can do is this, that I can disengage the autopilot over here, and then I can press this button again to get rid of the error, because otherwise I would have been hearing these sounds. Now interestingly, in this cockpit, what I found out is this, that if you are sitting on your seat and you are in the middle, and if you keep this runway in the middle of these 2 points, then you will be properly aligned with the center line. Now you can see the speed is also in control, and I am trying to follow this diamond to control the vertical path. So if it's going down, it means I have to descend more. Speed brakes are armed or not? Yes, speed brakes are armed, and I have got the brakes set to low. So during the landing, I will also perform a flare at 30 feet above the ground. I will just reduce the thrust and pitch up the nose a bit. You can see the puppy lights, I think 2 red and 2 white. Yes, they should be 2 red and 2 white. Now you can see I'm following the vertical path, 400 feet. Little bit of, I think, crosswind. I have to adjust it, but you can see I've tried to keep the center line over here in the middle of these 2 buttons, so you're then properly aligned with the runway. So 2 red and 2 white. Now I'm slightly high. Reduce the thrust, pitch up, and then I will activate the reverse thrust. Below 100 knots, I will deactivate the reverse thrust. Now the reverse thrust is deactivated, and now the braking will come into action, and the plane will actually stop. As I was using low brakes, so I can also apply brakes using my controller to slow down the plane. I hope the brakes are not heated up. And that's it. And the plane has now stopped. I can go off the runway now. Hopefully this video will really help you in flying this plane and managing the descent. If you've got any questions, the comment section is there for you. I'm actually on Twitch also. I'll be doing live video sessions on my Twitch channel, so you can also go and join me over there. And moreover, I'm also on Discord. You can always join me on Discord. Thank you very much for staying with me. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.